I think this is why so many people on the right are having a very difficult time understanding what exactly the left is doing in gun control debates. Because you look at what they're doing and you're like, this is totally disconnected from the reality. To take an example, there's new information on this Uvalde shooter. And so this Uvalde shooter there's video that has now been found showing the shooter grinning while he holds up a bag of blood-soaked dead cats. According to FoxNews.com, the deranged 18-year-old gunman is seen smiling in the undated footage while sitting in the passenger seat of a pal's car, holding up a clear plastic bag with at least 2 bloodied cats visible inside it. So the sicko was previously rumored to have had a fascination with dead cats. He had threatened to kidnap, kill, and rape girls who shunned him online. A person who is related to the shooter's grandmother by marriage said, quote, the shooter was known for hurting cats. He liked hurting animals. I'm told he killed the cats and carried around the bag of bodies for bleeps and giggles. Well, okay, so I have a question. If you wanted to shut down school shootings, might it be easier to identify the people who have red flags? Like, I don't know, putting online threats to kill and rape women and also carrying around bags of dead cats? Which seems more targeted to the solution at hand? Trying to figure out who is posting videos of holding bags of bloody dead cats or disarming 100 million Americans of 400 million guns. Which seems more doable to you? Which seems more calibrated toward actually solving the problem that you purport to solve? And this becomes particularly true when you look at how the Uvalde Police Department responded. The procedures of the Uvalde Police Department were a complete disaster area. I mean, the director of Texas Public Safety literally said over the weekend, his name is Stephen McCraw, that they made the wrong decision not to go into the school right away. So maybe that would be the solution, is to go into the school right away.
Hey, for the benefit of hindsight, where I'm sitting now, of course it was not the right decision. It was the wrong decision, period. There's no excuse for that. But again, I wasn't there, but I'm just telling you, from what we know, we believe there should have been an entry at that as soon as you can.
Okay, so let's talk for a second about the fact that there are some solutions that are available here and the fact that no one wants to talk about them. So the minute that anybody talks about heightening school security, making sure there are actual armed guards on the ground, making sure that the police actually respond with alacrity rather than standing outside some sort of cordon a mile away and preventing parents from getting to their kids. Maybe you lock the back doors of school. Instead of talking about actual things that you could do, actually enforcing red flag laws. We had a red flag law in Buffalo. It didn't stop the shooter because no one enforced the red flag law. Instead of actually having thriving societal institutions that are capable of spotting dangerous kids and then reporting them to the authorities and changing our involuntary commitment laws when you have dangerous sociopaths like this particular shooter, you can put them away rather than leaving them on the street in order to murder small school children. Rather than doing any of that, we're talking about mass disarmament of the public. And make no mistake, that is what the left really wants here. Okay, when the left discusses common sense gun reform, they don't mean any of that. We all understand it's an incremental approach to what they really want to do, because if they actually want to stop the shootings, there's really only one solution from their perspective, and that is get rid of the guns for everybody. Over the weekend, according to the Washington Post, there were 12 mass shootings. And now it's none of those got they never get remotely the kind of attention that the mass shooting in Buffalo got because that was racially motivated, or the mass shooting in Uvalde got. But they are significantly more common. The kind of mass shootings you saw over the weekend killed many, many more people on a statistical level than the kinds of mass shootings that make all the press. And the reason for that, largely, is because if you are going to drive a gun control agenda, it's very difficult to drive a widespread gun control agenda when it appears that you're targeting minorities. And the disproportionate number of shootings in the United States are committed by minorities against other minorities. So that makes it kind of awkward when you start talking about vast gun control policies. That's why the left doesn't want to talk about it that way, because it cuts directly against their larger, broader argument, which is that the true threat in America is quote-unquote white Christian nationalism. And the Washington Post reports that there were at least 15 mass shootings that have taken place across the United States since Tuesday, from California to Arizona to Tennessee. This Memorial Day weekend alone, spanning Saturday, Sunday, and the federal holiday on Monday, there have been 12 mass shootings. Those mass shootings just mean, essentially, 4 or more people shot or killed, not including the shooter. Several of those shootings occurred at parties, one at a Memorial Day event. At least 11 people have been killed and 67 injured in mass shootings since the Uvalde shooting last Tuesday. There were 6 teenagers, for example, who were injured by gunfire in Chattanooga, Tennessee. That was probably a gang fight. It was a bunch of young teenagers, like 13 to 15 years old, who were shooting at each other. There were shootings in Oklahoma. There's a Memorial Day festival in Taft, Oklahoma, where there was a shooting. There was a party in Merced, California, in which there was a shooting. There was a shooting at a liquor store in Benton Harbor, Michigan, right? These sorts of things are extremely common across the United States. They don't make the press the same way that the mass shootings do because they don't fulfill narratives in exactly the same way. But all these shootings are kind of different in kind from one another, and they don't call for mass gun confiscation. And if you are calling for mass gun confiscation, you have to wonder what exactly is the real rationale. And the real rationale is you don't trust your neighbor. You think your neighbor's scary and bad. That's the real rationale. Okay, so Joe Biden, on this basis, decided that he was going to go off on this. So Joe Biden, of course, decamped to Uvalde. He didn't decamp to any of these other shootings, by the way. Right? He decamps to very specific shootings where he thinks he can make political hay. So he decamps to the site of the Buffalo shooting so he can talk about the grave threat to America of white Christian nationalist, white supremacy, et cetera, et cetera. And then you have Joe Biden decamping to Uvalde because this is the most heartbreaking mass shooting that we've seen in the United States since at least Parkland. And so this is a perfect opportunity for him to discuss his gun control routine. The problem for Joe Biden is that he doesn't know bleep about these issues. But maybe that's not the problem. Maybe that's just part of the upside of the guy, I guess. He started off by visiting Uvalde and people were yelling at him to do something. And of course, he then climbed up on a vehicle, which was very difficult for him. Dangerous stuff here. So the private Secret Service let him do it and started shouting that he would do something. People are yelling at him. Jill is over there. Jill is walking around the car. And Joe kind of slowly, he never looks great, walks to the car and he pulls himself up onto the car and says, we will do something. Okay, what exactly will he do? He will spout ignorant nonsense about guns and then not do anything because this is he thinks, a potent electoral issue for him. So Joe Biden admits, first of all, that he can't outlaw weapons, but he'd like to. I mean, that's really the underlying idea here.
I can do the things I've done, and any executive action I can take, I'll continue to take. But I can't outlaw a weapon. I can't, change the background check. I can't do that. And, my whole career I've been doing it.
First of all, if his whole career he's been doing this and he's accomplished nothing, at some point you might think that he might be bad at his job. That wasn't the part where he really starts his rant. So his real rant is that he starts off by talking about how the Second Amendment is not absolute. And then he starts just dropping bizarrely non-factual cliches about guns. He has about 3 or 4 things that he likes to say about guns, where he's got the deer and Kevlar vest routine, which is just stupid. And then he's got this is the one he's going to drop right now. He's got during the Revolutionary War, he couldn't own a cannon, which is actually not true. So he's going to drop that one here.
The Constitution, the Second Amendment, was never absolute. You couldn't buy a cannon when the Second Amendment was passed. You couldn't go out and purchase a lot of weapons. And those who, not many are saying it anymore, but there was a while there where people were saying that, the tree of liberty is water with the blood of patriots, and what we have to do is have to be able to take on the government when they're wrong. Well, to do that, you need an F-15, you need a Abrams tank.
And then he's, again, then he's dropping his cliches again, that basically the Second Amendment is completely useless because the original purpose of the Second Amendment, which was to allow for a well-regulated militia to fight off predations on individual liberty in the states, that is completely specious now because you need an F-16, which is not making the case that people should not own F-16s. That's making the case, ironically, that people should own F-16s. It also happens not to be true. Okay, the fact is that major armies across, the United States military was just cast out of Afghanistan by a bunch of goat herders with AK-47s. So I'm going to go no on that. But put that aside. All of this, stupidly informed rhetoric, it's typical Biden. That wasn't even the dumbest thing he said. So in the world of dumb cliches, he then dropped just a jaw dropper here.
A .22 caliber bullet will lodge in the lung, and we can probably get it out, may be able to get it and save the life. A 9mm bullet blows the lung out of the body. So the idea of these high caliber weapons is there's simply no rational basis for it in terms of what's about self-protection, hunting.
So apparently he's now making the argument in favor of an AR-15, none of which, as far as I'm aware, fire a 9mm. They fire either .223 or .556, both of which are smaller caliber than a 9mm. Now, the reason that they're highly lethal in close quarters, particularly, is because they have higher muzzle velocity. But he's not talking about muzzle velocity at any point here because he doesn't know anything about guns. He's just talking about the size of the ammo. A 9mm does not blow a lung out of the body. The hell is it's got more stopping power than a .22 for sure. Is that what? What? There's not a gun expert in America who thinks that a 9mm blows a lung out of the body. This is not to deny that a 9mm is dangerous. All weaponry is dangerous, but that's just not true. Not only is it not true, he also happens to be talking right when he says that's a high caliber weapon. No, it's not. A 9mm is literally the lowest caliber weapon that law enforcement uses. Like if you go over to your local PD, the lowest that is a 9mm handgun is what a typical cop has on their hip. That is the lowest caliber weapon that they are using. And there's a reason Dirty Harry didn't use a 9mm. He used a 45, right? He's a Colt Magnum, 45. What is he talking about? But he's kind of letting the cat out of the bag in sort of a backdoor fashion. If you outlaw 9mm, that is the most common form of ammunition in the United States, particularly for handguns. So he's actually talking about just outlawing all guns. That's really what he's talking about there. He's not talking about rifles anymore. He's not talking about quote-unquote assault weapons. He's not talking about common sense gun regulations. He says there's no rational reason to own 9mm ammo. Yeah, there is, because it fits inside a 9mm weapon. That is the reason to own a 9mm. What in the world? So he's saying the quiet part out loud. Part of it is that he's just ignorant and he's a moron. I mean, Joe Biden, when it comes to guns, he's ignorant about so many things. When it comes to guns, he's just legitimately ignorant. And the people who make your policy and write about your policy in the media, they've never fired a weapon. They don't know what a weapon is. When they describe weapons, it's as though they are describing some sort of alien technology that has descended from Mars. It's amazing to watch them describe weaponry that when they say things like an AR-15 style weapon, or when they use the word when they use the term semi-automatic to say that means automatic, but just semi, like here's typical Biden. I mean, listen, Biden, this is the same moron who suggested at one point that you should fire a shotgun through a door if there's an intruder. So yeah, I'm going to listen to him on gun safety.
If you want to protect yourself, get a double-barrel shotgun. Said, Jill, if there's ever a problem, just walk out on the balcony here or walk out, put that double-barrel shotgun and fire 2 blasts outside the house.
Right, this is a few years ago. This is when he was suggesting that the best way to make an intruder go away is to go out on your balcony like you're in Back to the Future and somebody has run over your Twin Pines farm and Marty McFly's driving away in the DeLorean. You just fire shotgun blasts in the air. This idiot. And he also suggested at one point shooting a shotgun through a door like Oscar Pistorius, which ended real poorly for both Oscar Pistorius and his girlfriend. Like, what in the world? But it's these morons who are making our laws. It's these idiots who are making our laws. And maybe that's the point is they don't have to know because they know that guns are bad. And what they particularly know is that your gun is bad. So this is, again, I come back to this fact. I know that my neighbors have guns. Not only do I not care, I am glad that my neighbors have guns. Because if God forbid something bad is going to happen, I want my neighbors there with the gun. Because I like my neighbors, and I know my neighbors, and I think that my neighbors have good values. And I don't know how they vote, but I know them. I see them around. I know that they are law-abiding. They're not criminals. I don't hate my neighbors. But if you hate your neighbor, you want everybody disarmed because everybody is scary to you. Everybody is a threat to you because your subjective sense of self-identity. We know that ideologically they're a threat to you because they may threaten your subjective sense of self-identity. I mean, they're part of institutions that threaten you. So after all, why not disarm them in the name of a big, broad, overarching, big government that is going to guarantee you your personal subjective sense of self-identity and also prevent your evil, terrible neighbors from encroaching on you, not by violating the law, but simply by existing. How's this for a title? Ben Shapiro Show subscriber destroys like button with clicks and logic. I'd watch that. Make it happen, gang.